Okay, so obviously I'm not here today. The sub you'll have will be here for today and for tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that we can't get some work done. Just so you guys know, I'll be at the hospital. I'll be in and out. My wife's got surgery tomorrow, so that's why I won't be in class, but life is going to go on. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start in our Moodle is what we'll do. So go ahead and log into your Moodle. As you can see, I got the cloud up. Drop into the Moodle. Okay. As you log in, what you're going to see is, hopefully the only thing that should be showing is going to be your Civil War thing. So we're going to log in. We're going to click on what's called the Mock Reconstruction Project option. Long name. I know I need to edit and change it, and I'll work on that. So when you click on that, it's going to bring up a Word document, and that's what you're going to see. So here we have is this. So basically what we're looking at then is you guys are now going to put the country back together. We've talked about the Civil War. We've talked about all the battles and the things that have fought both as a country. Remember, we talked about this a number of times. The Civil War was not about slavery. It was about states' rights, and it was about control. It didn't become about slavery until the Emancipation Proclamation was delivered and signed, at which point then it did become about slavery, because that became the moral dilemma of the time period. So now we have these people that are no longer chairs. We've talked about them being furniture, but now they're actually people, and it's our duty and our option to try to liberate them. So the war is over. So now what's going to happen is this. You and a partner, I would say at this point, no more than 2 people in a group. If you want to work by yourself, that's totally fine. You're going to put the country back together. I don't want you to go through, you can, but I'm not going to front load and tell you what happened. We're going to talk about that after you guys have done this and we've presented it. I don't want you clouded by what you might see. I don't want you clouded by what you would have read. I want to go at it just what you think is going to happen. So here's what we've got. So you open this thing up, and you've got this. So the country's gone through 4 years of war. 600,000 people are killed. All right, then the North is won. So in the North, our conditions are this. Land is fine. Most of the war took place in the South. You have 800,000 returning soldiers that need jobs. Factories are laying off workers because they don't need to produce supplies for the war anymore. Wartime is a huge economic opportunity for people. But what happens in this case is war's over, so now we don't need to produce rifles and bullets and shells and cannons and all that. So now we've got to figure out what we're going to do with them. In the South, much is destroyed because that's where the majority of the war took place. Houses, barns, bridges have been destroyed. And we talked about Sherman's March to the Sea, where he set fire to everything he could get his hands on. All right, the cities of Columbia, Richmond, Atlanta, completely leveled. They don't exist anymore. It used to. There are people still there, but as far as the city itself, it's no longer there. 2/3 of the railroad have been destroyed. Confederate monetary system has been terminated, so Confederate money has become useless. Banks have closed, and depositors have lost their savings. When we talk about this, even in the South, we saw Confederate money. Everything's based off of a gold standard. There's no gold for this to happen. So if you're a millionaire with Confederate money, now you're a pauper. You have nothing. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do with that. There are 4 million freedmen, which is the term they used. Once were slaves, most were uneducated. Being uneducated means they're illiterate. They can't write, they can't read, which is why they were taken advantage of when we had the black codes that were put into place. And we'll talk about that once we get through this. Families are broken, no resources, no family inheritance, or older families to rely on financially, no land, nowhere to live, and only the skills that they learned or used when they were slaves. Majority of white Southerners are angry that slavery has ended and angry at the freedmen. So they're mad that they've lost. They're mad that slavery is no longer in place. And they're mad that these slaves are now freed and walking around with citizenship. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do with that. Confederate flags are being sold in the streets, and many Southerners are saying they don't want to be pardoned for what they have done, for going against the Union. They're happy with their Southern pride. They're not looking for an opportunity to try to become an American citizen again. And that'll be something we'll talk about. But we have to figure out what we're going to do with these guys. The big thing now is, though, this cotton production is the basis of the Southern economy. cotton and tobacco become very big cash crops for people during the time period. So here's what we've got. So it's 1865, you've been elected to Congress, you and or your partner. Civil War has ended and you got to rebuild it. So in your groups, you're going to create an action plan. How will you rebuild the nation now that the Civil War has ended? So I need you to write a detailed plan of how you're going to address each of these problems up top, facing the nation. How will you effectively and fairly resolve each of these obstacles? All right, so 2 class periods. So basically, here's what we've got going on. Your goal today, obviously, is to be introduced to this. You and your partner need to sit and figure out what it is you want to do. That would be the starter point. Tomorrow is going to be the second work day for you. Now, this whole thing is supposed to be finished and will be presented on Friday. Ms. Mason's coming in to be a judge, and you guys will present what you have done, how you're going to put the South back together. So brainstorm on day 1, write a rough draft. Second period, you can do an action plan in a presentable format. You can do a PowerPoint, a handout. If there's something else you want to do, you're welcome to do that. I don't have a problem with it. But this is going to be delivered to Congress for your classmates. Now, this says next week, but it's really not next week. It's going to be on Friday. So as we look at this, don't think that you have more time than you do, because when I walk in the class on Friday, I'm expecting this whole thing to be done. If you have questions or problems, I want you to email me. I will have my email set up. What I would like to do is I would like to meet with each of your groups for a couple of minutes on Thursday. And how we're going to do this is I'm going to set up a Skype account, which I have set up, and I'm going to set the other part of the Skype account onto my laptop so that I can get with you guys and talk to you for about 5 minutes or so apiece to find out how you're progressing and how things are going. So that will happen on Thursday for sure. And then we'll go through it, and that way everything is clean and clear, and we're ready to rock and roll. So this is not an easy task as you look through this, okay? You've got a lot of stuff that you've got to put together and a lot of stuff you're going to have to plan out. So let's make sure we focus, make sure we're taking advantage of the time that we have to get these things done. And like I said, if you have any questions, I want you to email me, and I will have my computer and I will have my email account set through my phone, so I will respond to you guys as quick as I can, okay? All right, good luck.